How do I get over my husband's video game obsession? Today is my birthday. I fell asleep last night crying, and woke up the same way. The issue is my husband, 43M, has a lifelong obsession with video games. His current console is the Switch, and I'm tired of feeling like I come in second place. I have a standard MF 9 to 5 job. He works 10-hour days on Sunday Wednesday, and he generally gets home from work around 8 p.m. This means we only get one day off together, which is Saturday. And every Saturday he spends his time the same way. He wakes up, makes coffee, and then plays his console all day until dinner time. Incidentally, this is also how he spends his other 2 days off, unless there is a domestic task he needs to do. Generally, this doesn't bother me too much. He never fails to help me around the house when I ask, and I know he loves me very much. On top of it, we're not the wealthiest of people, although we are comfortable, so more often than not, it's more cost-effective to entertain ourselves at home. For these reasons, I've tried not to be the stereotypical controlling wife who complains about his gaming. However, yesterday was the one day we had off together on the week of my birthday, as well as our 7th wedding anniversary, which is in 3 days, and he spent the whole day playing Zelda. To be fair, he had taken me to a nice dinner on Friday night, but he took me there last year, and the year before that. When he told me what we were going there again this year, I did feel a pang of disappointment, like he hadn't really put any thought into it and was reusing old plans to check this off the list. But it is a good restaurant that we both enjoy, so I expressed excitement and we did enjoy our meal. And because of that, I didn't really expect too much for yesterday. I wasn't upset or concerned when he went directly to the Switch first thing in the morning, and wasn't annoyed when noon came around and he was still playing. However, by 5 p.m., I was realizing we were going to do the same thing we do every Saturday. I bug him to take a shower with me, make dinner, watch TV, then go to bed. And we're going to do this next Saturday, and every other weekend unless I plan something for us to do, which I try to do every couple of months, at minimum. Eventually, I, passionately, expressed myself to my husband, and in his defense, he immediately knew he had screwed up. However, at that point, I was so hurt and angry, I couldn't even look at him and told him to leave me alone while I finished making dinner. We ate a very tense meal, and then I went up to take a shower and cry. He came up a bit later to apologize and say he had messed up. I thanked him for the apology but explained that this was just the straw that had broken the camel's back, and I was tired of watching him play video games every week. I asked him when was the last time he had planned an activity for us to do together, or when he had last had a day off when he wasn't gaming. I said I was tired of feeling like a roommate that feeds him. He didn't used to be like this, and I know after being together for 16 years, things can become somewhat routine. Additionally, I know money has been tighter for him lately. We manage our own money, but split the bills, but in the end, that has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the fact that I want him to want to spend time with me. I would have been happy if he had asked me if I wanted to play kart with him, or go on a hike, but none of that occurred to him. He couldn't put the controller down for one day, and reduced our anniversary and my birthday down to a 2-hour dinner. I know he's sorry, and an annoying trait of mine is I feel guilty whenever I make someone feel sorry, but that's an entirely different story. But I don't know how to go on from here, and the damage is already done. If he changes his ways and starts spending more Saturdays with me, I'm going to feel guilty, and like he's only doing it because I want him to. If he doesn't change his ways, I'm not sure where we are going to be in 5 years. In short, I know my husband will put in more effort if I ask him to, but I'm not sure how I can heal from this. How can I get over the fact that I had to ask him to want to spend time with me? Edit. A lot of you are saying I didn't communicate my needs clearly, and perhaps that is the case. I've asked him to teach me 40k so we would have a dual hobby, and he'll sometimes play kart with me. All his games are one player, but I've never outright said you need to spend this Saturday with me. Also, to the people telling me to break his console or give him some sort of ultimatum, I'm not going to do that. We all need me time and hobbies, and to break his games would be like him destroying my books or art supplies. This is why I've never said much about his gaming in general. And for the record, I play Zelda too. Also, to the people focusing on the dinner or asking me what I've done that's so great, I enjoyed the dinner and am not complaining about that. I'm frustrated that he took me to dinner after I got off work and then spent the whole next day glued to his game. It's not tit for tat, which is why I have brought it up originally, as another Redditor asked, but the only time we've left the house over the last year is when I took us to Hawaii for his birthday. He took me 7 years ago, or the couple of shows I've taken us to. We used to go on hikes or a museum here and there, and even in our poorest days, we'd always figure out how to do nice little things for each other. But now he grumbles about the heat when I ask him to go on a walk with me and the dog. This is something recent that has only been developing over the last few years, and writing it all out and reading your comments, I realize I am frustrated, but I haven't been as forward about it as I could be. Thanks Reddit, I'll have a calm conversation with him later this week. Comment. Listen, you shouldn't feel guilty for asking your husband to prioritize you over his game on Saturdays. In fact, I encourage you to do that. Your husband has Thursday and Friday to play his games if he wants. Having some quality time together isn't a big ask. And I know you feel like you shouldn't have to ask, but some people don't even realize when they're being this way. So yes, communicating how you feel is important. If you don't communicate about this, you'll end up divorced over an issue you quite literally could have changed. Don't feel bad for asking him for his time. You're not asking him to quit entirely, just give you one day. That's reasonable. If the issue is you need to spend some time as a couple and you feel like you're competing with Link, I think you've already done what you can. He doesn't have to stop playing games entirely, just make one day a week to be a couple or even a few hours, then he can wind down after dinner by clearing a few side quests. If the issue is the fact you had to blow up and tell him, then all you can do is give yourself time to get over this, and give him time to make an effort. After 16 years it's pretty normal to get complacent, and maybe the snap was the wake-up call he needed. You need a partnership, and that means you need to both make time for each other. That's reasonable. So give him time to prioritize you on his own, and keep talking about things if you need to. Just be clear, the issue isn't video games, it's that he hasn't made time to just spend time, even small things like taking a walk together. To be fair, for 16 years, he thought everything was fine, and then suddenly in his mind she lost her mind and broke down in a fit of upset and hurt over him doing the same thing they had always done. She shouldn't feel bad about expressing her needs to her partner, but the way she did it was really poor, and expecting him to realize what she was growing more and more upset with quietly without letting him know just isn't realistic. I don't, and never will, understand people who have problems with others who are important to them, and somehow expect the other person to realize the problem via ESP or something. It's not realistic, and it just hurts both people in the long run. Gamer here. Man has all Thursday and Friday while you're at work to game. It's perfectly reasonable to ask him to spend at least a portion of his every Saturday with you and away from the games. Maybe propose you guys alternate picking date ideas every other week. It sucks having to ask your partner to do things instead of them just knowing to do it on their own. I've been guilty of thinking like this before. It means less if I have to tell you what I think should be obvious. But sometimes they just need a push in the proper direction. Sounds like he cares, and he should have been paying more attention. Once you talk to him, if it continues, then you have a problem on your hands. Next story 2. I blocked my BF because he ignored me during the worst moment of my life after being distant for weeks. I've been in a relationship for almost 2 years with my boyfriend. We are both in our 30s. He's the first man I have ever loved and opened up to in my adult life. He made me feel so seen and safe. We have had some bad fights in the past, but we have always worked through it. One of his best qualities was that he was always very loving and attentive towards me. We broke up earlier this year for 3 months because we had a bad argument about our future. He could not give me a clear timeline for us to get married. I tend to retreat when I feel rejected. I broke up with him as soon as I sensed his hesitancy about marriage. I know he wants to get married and have a family, but I took his hesitancy as he didn't want it with me. I did no contact with him for 3 months and went on other dates. He reached out to me and asked to try again, and at this time asking for time for him to get his life together first before bringing up marriage topic again for us. I agree. I love him and he's the first man I truly felt connected to. I wanted to believe that time would give him what he needed to get to that place of assurance for marriage. But lately he's been going through a rough patch with stress. He hasn't been very attentive and asked me for some space to work on getting his life together. He never specifically told me when. I was kinda hurt but agreed. I texted him once a week and he would respond but never ever returned my calls. I know for a fact he was hanging out with his friends and calling his family, but his work stress was too much for him to communicate with me. I was confused with this new behavior. After I had called him twice in a row and saw he was online WhatsApp, I sent him a text about how I was so patient and understanding, but the fact that he wouldn't communicate about the stress in his life and problems with work didn't bother me. It was the fact that that I was anxious and worried about him, but he never bothered acknowledge my genuine concern. Yesterday, I got bad news last night that there was a shooting at a wedding that my mother attended. My mother called me saying she was scared there was a shooter that shot 2 people and that she was hiding in the kitchen with a few people and barricaded the room. My mom is my whole world and my boyfriend knew this as well. She told me if she doesn't make it that she loves me and my sister. I cried, panicked, then drove like hell to the wedding venue and found it blocked off. Luckily my mom was not hurt and most of the people at the wedding, but I was shaken up because I heard there was 2 dead victims. I called my boyfriend 3 times after the incident to cry to him because I felt so broken. Instead he texted me to stop calling him and that he was with his friends. I texted him there was a shooting and my mom was an attendee, but she was shaken up and so was I. At that moment he just said he was sorry and glad my mom was okay. He said he would text me tomorrow if I wanted to talk. At that moment, I have never felt so disappointed and angry. I went off on him via text and called him out for failing to be a decent human being. The fact that someone I loved and thought that understood me thinks it's okay to dodge my calls and say he's with his friends when I am under such duress. I told him I never wanted to speak to him again and told him to never contact me ever again. I've been crying all day from the shock of the shooting, the fact that my mom could have gotten killed, the 2 victims that died, and my boyfriend's complete 360 indifference has been too much. I never ever want to see him again and I only wish he felt the same level of hurt and pain I do right now. I regret ever opening up to him and trusting that he would be there me as he always said he would be. Right now I just need to focus on my family and getting over the shock of everything, but I hate him for not being here when I needed him. Comment. Thank God your mom is okay. It sounds like you and your boyfriend broke up when he said he did not want to get married. Really? You blocked him for 3 months and now again. I don't blame you, but you did. Keep his number blocked and move on. Stop wasting your time on some asshole who doesn't love you. You will be better off without him. Sounds like he is dating someone else but wants to keep you in distance in case it doesn't work out, just like during the 3 months you didn't speak to him. I say you better move on and block him for good. His reasons to have space is shady as hell. I have an idea of where you're from based on the wedding shooting. I'm so glad your mom is okay. That must have been terrifying. You have communicated your wants and needs and he is consistently proving that he doesn't care. You deserve better. Cutting ties is never easy, but you'll be better off. Sending you love.